Okay, we'll get underway. Welcome to this week's Digital Matters. And we today joined with Matt Locke again and a few of the team, and we're going to talk about a bit more about Google Analytics and brush over what we did last week, as well as sort of have a look at a few of the other features. So I've got my analytics open here, and as you probably remember, if you watched last week's episode, we went in and created a goal. And if I actually come and have a look at that goal now, you can see there that we've had 4 goal completions from basically going from the home page and going to our contact page on our Engaged Shoalhaven website. So they've obviously come to the home page and then tried to contact us. So that's actually been recorded in analytics now, and we've got a conversion rate there. So people have actually, got a conversion of 26% where they've actually gone to that contact page. Obviously, you can get a lot more elaborate with this. Is a very basic example of what we've actually done here. So, you can have it so that if you know the page that your site goes to after someone fills in a form, that sort of information is quite good as well, where they get to the contact page and they may not fill it in, and you can track how many people actually go there and don't hit submit. You probably ask, what would you do with that information? Well, sometimes your contact form may not ask the right questions, or it's got, it's too big, or it hasn't got the right language on it. So, you can obviously then make changes or understand what's happening there. We've talked about in the past different products to analyse this information, like Hotjar, and in future episodes we may go into things such as split testing, where you could have 2 contact pages or 2 ways of getting to a part of your website where you want the end user to interact. So,
sorry, Brad. You mentioned Hotjar.
Yeah.
For those who are not familiar with Hotjar, how would you describe it?
It's Big Brother. Hotjar is just a tool to understand how people move around your website, and it can give you all sorts of insights into what people are looking at, where they're spending most of the time on your website. And it's just a thing of analytics on rocket fuel is probably another way to sort of do it, and in real time as well. It's very impressive software.
It's certainly one of the features that I was always impressed by. Over time, it creates a heat map, so you can see the hot and cold parts of a website. You can see where people are dropping off, getting bored, clicking away. But you're right, in real time, it's fascinating. You can actually see you can see how the mouse is moving on the screen, so you can see where they're hovering. That's the way the brains work. We're looking with our eyes, but the mouse is following where we're looking and reading, and it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really interesting. So one of the things we haven't done yet with this particular analytics area is look at hooking up the Search Console. So as we sort of did in a recent episode, we actually talked about the Google Search Console. So I'm just going to bring that up now, if I can spell. And we're already linked on here. Now, one of the things that I may have failed to mention and is important with linking the Google Search Console to Google Analytics is that when it's actually set up and you add that property, there's 2 options here. There's a domain property type and a URL prefix type. The only thing that will actually support linking of the Search Console to Analytics is this URL prefix. Right? So you need to actually make sure that you use that feature. Otherwise, when you go to link, you won't actually see the actual property on the Search Console if it's a domain property. So from Analytics, we'll go back there now, and we're going to go down to our admin. And we talked about before how you've got different products that you can actually link. Obviously, they've got all their paid products up here, but if you go to all products and scroll down, you can see the search console here. So if I'm going to link the search console, I click add. And then you can see here, I've actually got in my list here the site property that I wanted to link. I should be able to save that and go okay. And now the beauty of that is that from now on, all of my search console data will be available in analytics as well to report on. So not only will you see how visitors are interacting with your site, but you'll also see how Google has impressed your pages of your website into their search engine and how they've actually arrived, to get there if it's from a Google search. So it is a very powerful sort of, thing that they've done. It's only been available for a year or two, as far as I know. And we obviously won't see any data yet. It'll take a little while for that to update, but it is now linked. So we can go back to our analytics and come in, and we should be sort of starting to see information within analytics about how sort of stuff has come through from organic search and different things, and it using the actual Google Search Console. So that being said, obviously we don't want to go too much further into analytics. One thing I was going to talk about, and which caught my eye and is quite interesting as well, and I wanted to touch on in this version of our Digital Matters is this attribution down here. It's in beta, which means it's obviously new software, but it's available for all of your different Google Analytics sort of setups that you've got. So the whole idea of attribution is, as a marketeer, you have different advertising mechanisms available to you. You could be doing Google AdWords, you could be doing AdSense. You could have different channels where you're actually investing money into getting customers to come to your website. So this attribution product is as they say, it's a single source of truth for where all of your attribution of advertising is actually coming from. So I'm just going to briefly go through this. This is the first time I've done it as well. So you can see here, we set up conversion type last time, went to contact page. So this is where I sort of find that there's quite powerful things in setting up those goals on your website. There's parts of your website where you want the customer to interact. So setting up goals and making sure that they work when it comes to using this attribution product is what we're seeing here. So I can actually tick that one and save. Now, that's the only conversion I've actually got. So it'll actually collect data, and actually show us how people are getting there. So give you an example there. If I was actually going to put an ad on our contact page, which you probably wouldn't, you don't normally put an ad on a page of information, and then you have a call to action that actually goes to a contact page. But if I had a goal set up where I wanted to actually see if people are landing on a particular product or a particular sort of blog on my website, you can then use this attribution if you're going to put ads onto that blog or that piece of information or product, and then track it through attribution as well to see, if you are getting sort of, and examples of this is like if you put AdWords on there, and it'll tell you, how many of those customers have arrived from AdWords using this attribution software. So, as we've sort of discussed, Google Analytics, very powerful, lots of things in here that you can do to drive or actually look at the information of how customers are getting to your site. And as you start to advertise, or get that organic rank up, you can actually see where important parts of your website are. And this is just another feature. And as I said, it's new, this attribution product. And I'm very excited to sort of start seeing and understanding how this works. And in future versions of our Digital Matters, we can possibly talk more and explore with what we're doing there. Anybody got any questions about what I've spoken about? Matt, you got anything to add?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess for the layperson, there's a lot to consider and a lot to do. I mean, how much time, if I was the layperson doing it myself, how much time a week should I allocate to this if I want to derive really meaningful data that I can then interpret? I mean, a rough guide. It's a tough question, but just to have because it could really consume some time. Eh?
Oh, absolutely. And I think in any of this sort of thing, they always say in business, do what you do best. And if that thing that you do best is not doing this sort of statistical work or working out where your advertising is coming from or creating that advertising, then that's where, us as IT Basecamp can help. But I would suggest, if you are motivated by this and passionate to understand it and you're a bit of the Bunnings home handyman when it comes to this sort of stuff and really want to learn, then the information's out there, and we're willing to help as consultants as well to get you to where you need to be, because we love customers that are also willing to give this stuff a go and understand it, because knowledge is power, and obviously it helps you along with your business. They always say in any business, you're the manager and the technician and the entrepreneur. So, if you feel like you want to be that entrepreneur more, then Google Analytics is your tool to sort of increase that area.
Absolutely. The other thing I'd say, I've always been of the belief that even though I'm not necessarily going to be the one pushing the buttons long term, to understand how it works, then if you're outsourcing this or insourcing it, at least you understand it.
Yeah.
So when you're being told some things, you can assess whether they're credible or not. Understand the process, be realistic about expectations around timing and accuracy of data. So I think understanding it is important, even if you don't plan to do it yourself long term.
Yeah, and I guess in these, what we've done in these Digital Matters sort of 20-minute episodes is you can obviously gain an appreciation for this sort of stuff and that through education. So I guess my one element there is someone that is educated about what's involved in this then appreciates what someone like a company like IT Basecamp is doing when we're actually
absolutely and
fitting these things together and joining the dots. So that's really important because there's nothing worse than them going, I can do that myself. Okay, we're more than happy to help people do it themselves and understand it, and then they sort of start to realise, well, I'm better off just doing what I do in my own business, and that's when they can come along to us and we can help them out in more ways than one. So.
And there are some things which a business should have self-sufficiency on. There's no question about it.
Yep.
Because if the wheel falls off, some things you can put back on yourself rather than having to make that urgent call or whatever it is. Some things with a basic understanding can be fixed yourself. I speak from a layperson perspective.
I would, as the business owner, though, also encourage people to make sure they know all of their accesses to all this information, because if you have someone in staff doing this and they decide that one day the business is not for them, and you know nothing about it, then it becomes difficult to recover some of this information. We had that ourselves, where we had a business that we couldn't get to the Google My Business page, and it had some old pictures up, and we went through war and peace to get that back through Google. So I would recommend, from the standpoint of a business owner, that you understand where all these sort of channels and logins and different things are for your marketing information, like your website and things like that. So thanks, Matt. I think we'll round it up there for this week. Now, next week we've decided to sort of start going into doing some split testing with some marketing and things like that. And we're going to do it live through IT Basecamp's website with some different landing pages and setting up things like analytics, and then having a look after we put some AdWords in place, what actually happens with different pages and the way that we actually create them, the pictures that we use, the titles that we use, and what our conversions are on that. So as that page that you can see on my site says, hang on tight, it's going to be interesting. And over the next few weeks, we'll be sort of setting all that sort of stuff up. So it's going to be fun. So
yeah, well, I think as well what that'll do, Brad, is I think it'll help the audience of this Digital Matters understand that in the testing phase, it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, we talked earlier, and it might be $10 a day or $50 a week that you put into testing AdWords or social media ads. So really, it shouldn't be a huge investment in the beginning. That's the whole point of testing. Test at a low level, find what works, and then turn the volume up on your ad spend.
Absolutely, yeah, because Google Ads, they love taking your money, and you've got to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. At least, as we're going to demonstrate, it's very, very manageable, very measurable, and very controllable.
Yeah. No worries. Thanks everybody for joining in again, and join us next Friday at 10 o'clock, and we'll be into something brave and bold and new.